Do you remember Google Glass? I remember, God, I don't know, what's it been, 10 years ago or longer, when a guy who was famous as an original podcaster, um, Robert Scoble, was all over Google Glass, and he could just imagine that we'd be walking down the street and we'd be wearing these glasses with a little camera in them, and the camera, one was a projector pointed toward your eye, the other was a camera pointed out. It would do facial recognition, see the person walking down the street, and it would whisper, and it would actually give you a little prompt, and it would say, "Hi, this is Kristen. You know Kristen because she is a PR person at such and such agency, and she represents such and such company. And as you got closer to her, you can say, 'Hey, Kristen, what's up? What's happening with the company that you represent?' and so on." And that was the beginning of, well, wasn't exactly the beginning, but kind of the beginning of a consumer look at augmented reality, AR. Hey, this is Gary. This is Gary on manufacturing, and I'm not going to talk about so much consumer as industrial applications, but they're all interesting. This podcast is brought to you with longtime support from my friends at Inductive Automation. Discover a whole new view with Ignition 8 by Inductive Automation. Packed with features for the modern control system like unlimited licensing, high-powered tags, and a mobile-first flexible design environment for all devices. Ignition 8 supports enterprises of any size. See all Ignition has to offer at inductiveautomation.com. While you're at inductiveautomation.com, I'm recording this still in July. We've got a couple months to go. You can sign up. Go visit the website and sign up for the Ignition Community Conference, ICC 2021, which will be virtual again this year and not in Sacramento. But if like last year, there will be just a wealth of information and actually people you can meet, people you can talk to, and so on. So visit inductiveautomation.com. So we have, once again, we have a suite of acronyms, but this time they're not TLA, three-letter acronyms. We have AR, VR, XR, MR, and, however many other R's there might be. And it gets to be interesting. So we'll start out with about 20 years ago, I ran across a company. They were headquartered in British Columbia, if I remember right. And if memory really serves me, I think they were called Brain Tech, but that was a long time ago. They've been sold. But the idea was that you would have a little camera on your hard hat or headset or something as a technician or engineer in, say, a factory, and say a machine was down, and you would go over to the machine and you'd have a camera and a communication device, and that could hook up to a remote expert. And part of this whole deal is it could flash in front of your eyes, actually overlay the actual machine, things like work instructions, like how do you tear this apart. Back when I was a younger person and had an MG and I was always working on it, you'd have the book and you'd have the MG and you'd have to look back and forth to figure out how to tear something out and put something back in and that whole thing. And this would be a really cool other way to do it rather than looking up some drawing and have to look back and forth or whatever. You just overlay the drawing on the actual piece of equipment and it helps step you through the repair. That would be augmented reality. I can see reality, but I'm augmented with certain things. Over the years, the technology really wasn't up with the idea 20 years ago. Several years ago at Hanover Fair, I stopped at the Beckhoff booth and they were trying out, I think probably by this time we're really looking at HoloLens, which became Microsoft HoloLens. And people were doing things like overlaying it with the technology of a robot, and you could see various kinds of either numbers or graphs or something to do with the actual equipment working. And I've done that with Beckhoff, I've done that with Rockwell Automation, I've had another headset on with Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and some other things, and so I've seen this in a number of cases. The use case is still the same for us. It isn't recognizing the person. Just imagine you're at a conference and instead of memorizing 500 people and who they are and who they work for, what their title is and so on, you just have a thing that whispers in your ear and says, "Hey, that's so-and-so, and ask them this." but you're better off memorizing than with facial recognition glasses. But if you're doing any kind of maintenance or engineering work, for example, um, this would be it's a great tool, and we're still working on that. Just had a talk with PTC. They purchased Viewforia, and it's another technology that they have that'll integrate with their PLM system and drawings and so on. There are all kinds of things we can do, and these are all to assist us as we do our job. The other kind of thing we have is virtual reality. Virtual reality is a whole other thing. In virtual reality, we are living in a computer-generated space, and if you this is a headset, it's totally immersive. You don't see physical reality. All you see is the computer-generated reality. Be careful where you put this on so that you don't stumble over unanticipated physical objects that you might walk into as you are doing this. However, think of perhaps a better movie experience than, well, I don't know. Actually, it's kind of fun to go to a theater and get the bad popcorn that's overpriced and all that. But you know, it'd be a great way to watch something like that. Gamers would really, and a lot of applications are now coming out for gamers in virtual reality. For us in industrial things, we've already seen some of this coming out, not very big yet, but I think it can be a fantastic training device. I have seen prototypes, I guess we'll put it that way, for instance, of a large process plant like a refinery, where you walk, you know, up on platforms and turn valves and look at gauges and duck under pipes and just as if you were in that plant, but you're not going to blow up anything because you are training and it's all just computer generated stuff, and it works very well. It's a cool idea for training to help people get muscle memory along with brain memory, if you will. So I think we're going to see those in an awful lot of places. I think that it's a coming thing. And then we have mixed reality, where they mix everything together. I just listened to a podcast, and I got I got a press release right at this time, but that was all for commercial things on XR, which is like a massive multiplayer kind of virtual reality thing, immersive experience they call it. And we're just going to see more and more of this because the technology now we have better processing power in smaller packages. Prices are coming down on a lot of things that really will help drive this. When we can get HoloLens for augmented reality at a much cheaper price, for example, or the Viewforia stuff at a much reduced price, you'll see more take up. Right, you know, I worked in manufacturing and I worked in an organization and I had to justify expenditures, and so the engineers may look at this and say, this is great, we can use this, and the management goes, it costs too much. Well, at some point you get this trade-off of investment versus price and all that kind of stuff, and I think we're getting there. I think the technology is coming along very well. The communication technology, being able to tie more than one of these things together, the whole idea of the remote expert and me in the plant, that is reality now. And with AR glasses, we just see better and better and better uptake on that whole thing. Sorry for the truck noise, I can't edit that out. So I think, you know, maintenance, operations, engineers, all kinds of things. Maybe, I don't know who does this anymore, but I used to know office workers that had to go through Six Sigma training. I actually hope nobody has to go through that anymore, but if you are, maybe it would help an office worker learn more about the plant and put on the headset, and a great way to bring in, to onboard, if you will, new employees. that sort of thing. I think, we're seeing a lot more of it. It's going to tie to more and more of this whole play in this digital transformation where we have cyber physical systems, and the cyber physical systems come together. The cyber, that is the digital, and the physical, that is the things you trip over, coming together. And more of this is happening, and these different devices of AR and VR and XR are just going to play into that, and they're going to help us in a tremendous number of ways. Really looking forward to seeing more of that happen. I saw the vision in 2000, 2001, somewhere back in there, and it's getting closer. I've tried the glasses on, I've seen it, and once it becomes less of a toy or gee whiz and more of actual use cases that step out of the way and get out of the way of the actual work and just really assist, then we'll see even more takeoff. So cool. That's another piece of technology for industrial stuff that's not dealing with compute and IoT is some of the stuff I usually deal with. But I think bears watching, get a chance, try them on. When we start going back to trade shows, go around to who's showing them off, take a look at it, see where you can use it. I bet you can find a great use for some of this stuff. So this is Gary on Manufacturing. And once again, this podcast is brought to you by my longtime sponsor, Inductive Automation. Discover a whole new view with Ignition 8 by Inductive Automation, packed with features for the modern control system like unlimited licensing, high-powered tags, and a mobile-first flexible design environment for all devices. Ignition 8 supports enterprises of any size. See all that Ignition has to offer at inductiveautomation.com. And while you're at inductiveautomation.com, check out ICC 2021, the Ignition Community Conference, and they call it community for a reason. It's Ignition community that gets together, and this time it will be virtual, and you don't have to fly to California. No excuse for not attending, and check it out while you're there. Gary Minchell, Gary on Manufacturing. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.